Hello people! Today I'm going to be doing a recreation of this winter chill set that I did last year around this time, but I'm going to be making a few changes to it. And all of these are going to be Macart polishes today except for the top coat. And right off the bat I went wrong here. I just went in with this, it's a mermaid white, and I should have put a layer of white polish underneath because as we go along, you can see on my index finger, my encapsulated snowflakes from my Christmas nails are still in there. So it was showing through. So you wouldn't have that problem if you were starting off. So there we go. And then I'm going in with a layer of white on some of the others. Now, I know this looks really ridiculous with this glove situation, but I'm getting desperate here to try to figure out some way to keep my hands from breaking out really badly every time I do my own nails. And this was my attempt at that. This is where, okay, this color is going to be a pale lavender, which is what I'm swapping in instead of the blue that I did the original set with. But anyway, back to this breaking out situation. It's now, as I'm doing this voiceover, it's been 3 days since I've done my nails. So I can tell you that having the glove on there helped somewhat, but not totally, because I still had a breakout on all my fingers. It just wasn't quite as bad as it normally is. Okay, now we've already cured that first coat and we're into the second coat now. There'll be 2 coats. Now I did go back and put a layer of white polish, and then I redid the pinky. As you can still see right there, after 2 coats, you can still see through it a little bit. And we'll go ahead and, I was trying to get that off where I did not, I failed to clean that up before I cured it. Now it's cured on there, so I'll get it later. And I also didn't cap the end of that very well. Okay, I'm going to finish up with these other white. Sorry for the shaky camera. Been having all kinds of technical difficulties lately around here with everything. Seems like everything seems to be breaking down at once. Okay, so I must have hit my head on it again. And you want to be careful with your white polish because it will wrinkle if you don't get thin coats. Okay, we've cured that, and now we're moving on to doing the marble portion. So I'm starting with the base coat. I will put that on the nail I'm going to marble. Just a thin layer. Now if you have blooming gel, you'll obviously use that instead. I don't have any, so I use base coat. It works just the same. Okay, now I am going to lay out my polish for making the marble. This went a little bit awry here. I just wanted to do the lines this time, and I wasn't getting enough on my brush, so I will go back and fix it here in a while. But sometimes I do it this way. Sometimes I just put little blobs and dots of the different colors randomly in an area, and then I swirl them together. But today I had decided that day I was going to do the lines. Okay, so that's a better line. I couldn't get a nice line to come out of my white. Now I'm going to go through here with my dotting tool and swirl these. You don't have to do the swirly part. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And at this point, I think I'm realizing I don't really have enough white. So I'm going to go back and add some more white in here. think I'm finally ready. Then we're going to use an ombre brush, and I am going to just scoop up across that whole pile of stuff, polish. And I'm trying to get it in the shot for you. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of float it on there on top of that wet base coat. You can put it on in whatever pattern you want. You do want to try not to brush it very much. Just get it on there, and then the base coat will help it kind of disperse a little bit, so it will, well, now I'm out of shot, but it will disperse a little, so it will just look better. Having a tough time finding my words today. The point is, you don't want to work it too much. You want to kind of let it do its thing. And I had one a little more down at the bottom. This is going to be a very subtle marble. It's not an in-your-face one. And there's a bubble in there now that I've got to get that out. And then I will clean up that sloppage that I got on the cuticle. And then we are good to go for curing. Or not. Yes. Okay, I cured that one. Now I'm going to show you one more on the other hand. This is, you'll get to see me doing this very awkwardly with my offhand now. Now off camera I went and did the thumbs, but so I'm not showing that part. That's the same thing. We're just going to scoop up the polish that's already made there. And the same as we did before, we're going to float it on however we want to. You can do a swirl, you can do a swoop, you can do whatever you like. Now see, this one's much more awkward for me, and there's another bubble again. Not sure how I was getting bubbles in there, but eventually I'm going to get that out of there. It's either going to pop or I'm going to brush it out. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit more over there because there was no purple on that side. And I think I went back in and got a little bit more for the top area. Now after you get this on, you want to let it sit for maybe, I don't know, 15-20 seconds or so. And give it a chance to disperse a little into that gel base coat. If I'm doing the press-ons, I usually, if I'm doing several of them, I usually do them all at once, and then they can sit there and disperse while I'm doing the next one, so then I can cure the whole rack of them at a time. Eventually I'm going to get enough purple on here and stop fussing with this and be happy with it, and then I will go ahead and cure that. And there we go. You can see I've done the thumbs. Okay, now I am going to go in with a matte top coat. I'm not going to show you the bottle of this one because I don't like it. I'm not at all happy with it, so I'm not going to recommend it to anybody. But aside from the fact that it sometimes gets rather streaky, being that I'm working over white on some of these, it made the white kind of yellowy, which I'm really not happy about. So I have since then ordered some different matte top coat, and I'm going to be trying that out probably with the next set or sometime very soon. But we're just going to get this on here and go ahead and cure it. With the hair on there, of course. I'm just trying to get it smoothed out. And now I have cured those. And I've done the rest of them. And now we're going to move on to the sweater nails. And on this hand, the sweater nail is going to be on the purple one. On the other hand, I did it on a white one, which I'm not going to show you my doing it. Now, once again, this was kind of awkward for me to be painting on my own nails like this. I so much like doing the press-ons better. It's so much easier. Of course, if I was working on another person, then it'd be okay. But trying to do your own and get things to be neat and is very difficult for me. I know some of y'all out there can do it no problem. I'm not one of them. Okay, but we're going to just go down the center of here and we're going to paint kind of a, I don't know what you call that. It's kind of a part of a square and then a line down, I guess. I don't know. We're just going to carry on down the whole center of this. You don't have to use this shape. You can use, whatever shape or design you want to have on there. I've seen all kinds of different ones that are really cute. This is kind of your basic standard one. And I will carry on down the rest of this nail. That one got a little sack. It's a little bit fat. In the end, it doesn't look too bad, but I probably should have wiped it off and redid that one, but I did not. I just can't seem to get enough on the rest of that line there. Okay, we're going to put the beginning of the next one, and up here we're going to put the bottom of the one that would have been above there if that carried on. Okay, now at this point I flash cured this. And I know you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, you didn't put the acrylic on. I don't do it when I'm doing the sweater nails. I do it on the second coat. I don't do it on the first coat. So once I am happy with the way these are looking, I'm going to flash cure this because I was afraid I was going to bump it and mess something up when I was doing the rest of it. Okay, now that's been flashed, and now I'm going to go in and finish the rest of the design, which is going to be just a line down either side of that middle part. A longer striper brush probably would have been better for this part here, but I just went with what I was using, my regular detailer brush. That's why it's a little bit wiggly waggly in some places. And then one down the other side. This part I left in real time so you guys can see about how long it takes, or at least how long it took me. I'm not the quickest at doing hand painting stuff. And then down those side edges, I am going to grab a dotting tool, and I'm just going to make dots down there. Now this first layer of this, I'm using the dotting tool for. When I come in to do the second layer, I'll just use my brush because the dots are already basically there. And I just wanted, on this layer, I wanted to make sure I had my dots nice and round, not splotchy. And when I get done with this, I'm going to give this a full cure. And there has been cured now. And now this is how I get the height on the embossing. Now we go over the whole design again with the second layer. This will go faster because obviously it's already on there. You're just covering over it again. And this will give it more height so it sticks up more. Now you could have gone on and did the embossing on the first layer if you wanted to. I know a lot of people do it that way, but I like it to be standing out a little more. So sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I do the second layer, but if it's something where it doesn't have to stand out a lot, then I'll go and do the acrylic on the first layer. But for sweater nails, I like it to stick up more. And those little bits at the bottom and the top. And then moving on to the side lines and the dots. If you're doing a bigger shape for embossing, you need to make sure if you do a double layer system like this, that you cover the whole bottom one very carefully and thoroughly. As I know I did some, my Valentine's nails I did last year had embossed hearts. And on the second layer of the painting like this, I didn't fully cover the whole heart around the edges good. And then there was some parts that then when you put the acrylic powder on, it then had like a little step look to it that I did not like. Okay, and moving on, hopefully moving on to the dots. Okay, now I'm just going to use my brush for this. Since the roundness is there, I just need to get some wet polish on it. And the other side. Oh, that was a close one. This is not a good day to have a shaky hand situation. Okay. Alright, now we're ready to do the embossing. I'm using clear acrylic powder. Any kind will do. You don't have to use a real good one. A cheap one is fine. And I'm just going to gently pour this over that wet polish now. And it will soak into there. You want to be very careful you don't bump the edge of your jar or whatever you're pouring from against your design, or you will smudge it, and then there's really no going back. You got to wipe it off and start again. And if you see any parts that are looking a little shiny, kind of wettish, then you got to give it a little more powder on there and let it soak in really well. Okay, once I'm happy with it, looks decent, I'm going to give that a double cure, which I did magically, and I then will brush it off with a brush, a little stiff brush. And now moving on to the crystals. I've got these light, these are the smallish light crystals, and I'm using some clear, kind of a medium size, and then a smaller one in the clear. I was kind of bummed because I didn't have any like larger light purple ones, so I had to switch up my crystal placement colors. They're not exactly the same as they were in the original set, which I'm not super happy about, but well, I had to go with what I had. Okay, on the thumbs, I'm just putting a little, this one crystals on the corner. I'll start with one of these medium-sized ones in the center. And then put a couple of the purples on either side. I needed to have a dose of purple here after my red Christmas nails that I was not entirely happy with. That's to have some of my favorite color cheer me up. And then the small clear ones on either end. And that's all the crystals that are going to go on the thumb. Now before I do any curing, I'm going to bust out my trusty old caviar beads in silver. Eventually. And then I will fill in one at each end of that row of crystals, and then one in between all the, on either side in between all of them, to smooth off the finished edge. You don't have to do this part, but I think it makes it look a little nicer myself. So most of the time I go ahead and do it. And I had the usual fight with the caviar beads. Trying to pick them up. And I'm almost out of camera, but you can mostly see what I'm doing well. There we go. I think for the most part I did a better job of keeping everything in camera as I say that and it's out of shot. Oh geez. Some days you just can't win. Well, it is going to come back in shot. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to try to get these guys in there. Usually if I can just get them on there in the general place that I want them, then I will move them around and straighten them out later. Yeah, I'm just adding a little more glue on some places where there wasn't any squooshing out of there. And I think there's maybe 2 more to go, if I can see this correctly. Okay, now all we got to do is move them around and get them where we want them. Just get them all tucked up in there neatly along the edge. Okay, that looks pretty decent. And then I'm going to cure that. Well, or not. I must have not had one there where it fell off. That didn't have enough glue. Okay. That's got to be it now. Okay. Well, you can almost see it. I'm going to cure that now for, I believe I cured them for 90 seconds just to be sure it was really on there good. And now moving on to index finger. On the other hand, I did one on the middle finger instead of the index. But you'll see that at the end if you really care that much about it. But I'm going to do basically the same thing at the top of here that I just did over there. I'm going to put a big, like medium-sized clear one in the center 2 purples on either side, or 1 purple on either side, and then 1 smaller clear one at the end. As long as you get them on there in the general place you want them to be, you know, they don't have to be perfect at this point because they're gonna get moved around a little bit as you're putting stuff on. Okay, now I will need, when I get done moving that up, I will need some more glue. I don't know why I'm spending so much time fussing with these right at this moment when they're going to be moving. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put some more glue. I'm going to put a little line of glue down the center. About that much. I don't know what is that. Maybe a little half an inch, quarter inch, I don't know. Okay, now I've got these little metal stud things. I'm using these oval shaped ones. I wanted to go with something a little different with this set than the standard crystals on everything. And I'm having a heck of a time getting it to flip over so I could pick it up. Just could not get it to flip over. It was one of those days when I was doing this. There we go. Success. Oh, I flipped it back over again. Okay, I think I got it this time. Alright. Now that one is going to go right down the middle of there at the top. And then I'm going to put a purple crystal in between, where I will then wrestle another one of those ovally ones on there. Alright, that one was kind of mangled up, so I didn't want to use that one. It had a weird thing with it. Alright, now we're going to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to line these guys up before I then go back in with the caviar beads and do the same thing I did on the other nail, where I'm going to put one here at the end and then some in between all the other ones. And once again, I'm not totally worried about where it is. I just want to get them on there and then I can manipulate them afterwards. Half the battle for me is just getting them onto the nail. Sometimes you think there's glue there and there isn't, and then they don't stick, and then they're flying all over the place. And I'm just adding on some more dots of glue. So hopefully they will stick when I get to that point. This is just a really old, smallish brush that I have that I use for this. I wouldn't use your good detailer brush to do this because eventually the glue will ruin it. And trying to get some caviar beads on there, I'm assuming. Alright. Now I have seen some people put like a dot of top coat on their palette and then mix in a little batch of caviar beads into that, so when you pick them up they're coated with the top coat already, and then they stick on there where you want them to be. Sometimes I do that if I'm going to be working with a whole bunch of them, but for these little ones I don't usually do it. I've probably got a gazillion of these little beads all over my floor in here. Sometimes I'll come out of here after working on nails and I'll find crystals stuck on me in places. I'm like, I didn't even use that color crystal that day. Where did that even come from? And it's not like it's super crazy in here. I mean, I'm vacuuming here regularly, so I don't know. They sometimes have a mind of their own. And don't mind my cuticle over there. I kind of mangled it with the file yesterday, or the day I did fills on these. I didn't do a full replacement on this set. Hence the reason I still have the encapsulated snowflakes under some of them. If you see the underside of some of them, you'll see those, but I suppose I could have sped this section up, as it gets to be rather fussy sometimes putting these things on. Okay, I think I have them all on there now. I just got to get everything where it's supposed to be and straight. This one was kind of tough for me to get. Oh no, need more to get straightened out and keep it in the camera, because those little ovally silver stud things kept moving around. Like you straighten one end of it up and then the other side moves and it causes the whole thing to be off. So this was a rather fussy bit for me on this part. Eventually I will get them all lined up and then I'm going to cure it. And that will take us to the last step after we get this cured. I also learned that using that thing to straighten them out when they're little tiny thing like those caviar beads, not necessarily the best tool, as it would move things more than I was really wanting it to. I was super concerned with getting those oval ones straight, because I know in the original set a couple of them are off and it's been bothering me ever since, and that was a whole year ago. Sometimes being a perfectionist could be a blessing. It's also more often than not a curse, because you're never happy with what you've done. When I look at some of my sets and nails, all I see is all the boo-boos and mistakes and things I could have done better, instead of being happy with how they look. And am I done? Are we done? Nope. Still moving stuff around. Okay, I think I might be done. Nope. Oh, gee whiz. Sorry, guys. I really should have sped this section up for you. And this was working with my good hand. You didn't see me doing the other hand off camera. Okay, it's been cured. Yay! It's finally cured. And now I have, somehow I lost the top coat. But I did go in with another layer of matte top coat. And now you can see how some of the whites have gone yellowy on me, which I don't like. And I don't know how I lost that footage of that, but that's what we have. There's both of them. If you liked my video, please give me a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you for watching.